After spending over 1,000 hours playing Rust, I got bored with any survival. Zombie games annoy me for ages, and I can't stand when I see games where they put RPG elements in an artificial way, which in practice end up being useless. With this introduction, I think it's needless to say, everyone has already realized it. I just love this game. State of Decay 2, it's an open world zombie survival with RPG elements and permadeath. That's confusing enough, I guess, but with some effort, I believe they could throw some more genres into the mix. The game does not have any story to use as a guideline. We are in a zombie apocalypse, and the goal is to leave a legacy in the city. We follow small individual stories of each character that we meet in the game. Those are credible and diverse enough, but are told to us in a boring way to fill up empty moments at the base or while driving, which causes the narrative to end up abruptly, usually during the more interesting moments of the story, either because something happened or because we arrived at our destination. Sometimes I've chosen to drive just a bit more if I really want to listen the full story of a character. Graphically, it is far from being a AAA game, although it is a fairly beautiful game in practically all aspects. We are able to notice lower quality textures in several places. Sometimes it seems that we are permanently looking at an old photograph, and in any place the quality seems exceptional. But the detail level is generous and the light effects are very interesting. During nighttime is very dark indeed, you see practically nothing. The intro music is quite good, just like the vast majority of sound effects. We quickly began to distinguish the zombie type only by the noise that it makes. The sounds of firearms are good enough, and the ones of melee weapons are quite realistic. It's a massive incentive to keep eating old zombies. Voice acting, well, let's just say that some characters are better than the others, but generally they are boring, so to say. Explaining the goals of this game in a short analysis is not very simple, but I can say that we will go through some different moments. The first time we play, we will choose two characters, to which two more will join during the tutorial. The first missions still have a lot of tutorial flavor, but they are important because they explain to us the fundamental mechanics of the game. We start by setting up the first base, climbing to the first tower to explore the surroundings in a mechanic very similar to Ubisoft games. We look for the first loot, we do the first missions. From here we are on our own. We can choose to start to search for loot, to do many missions with other survivors, with whom we can trade or welcome into our group, or just devote ourselves to the main objective of the game, destroy the plague hearts. Have you noticed that I have not really spoken about zombies? It's because the zombies themselves are not part of the objectives of the game, although they are an essential component in it. Weird? Well, I never said it made much sense. There are tons of zombies everywhere, and they do not give us any rest. Although they are kinda blind, if they hear us or see us, they do not let us go. Even the most difficult to kill are not exceptionally difficult to deal with, and since the satisfaction of doing it in melee combat is so great, we end up never getting tired of it. Killing them with firearms is not so fun, because the aiming system is very vague and it seems that we never control it very well. It seems that we do not aim where we want to, and the ammo is also quite scarce. But no worries here, I barely have the need to use any firearm during my walkthrough. Knowing that the previous Microsoft game was boring as hell, I admit I was surprised with this one because it's exactly the opposite. There is so much to do that we end up leaving a lot behind. I let go some of the best survivors because I had other missions to do at the same time. I've missed a few good traders because I had gone to so many that were rubbish that I ended up not going to some others that were good. I could not accept some of the survivors I wanted because the community was already big enough and I did not have the resources for everyone. It's a simple game, apparently good to relax and spend some quiet time, but behind this apparently linearity, it hides a lot of hard enough choices or decisions. Base building is very simplistic. It's just a place to accommodate our community and build up our facilities. It does not protect us against hordes of zombies a single bit. It is not possible to fortify it either. These hordes turn out to be easy enough to fight with even without our help. The NPCs are able to take care of them on their own, and with some facilities upgrades they rest and heal quite quickly. Being a game that relies so much on loot gathering, we quickly begin to find the process repetitive, which for me was not problematic, as it was largely offset by the fact that we often have to look over our shoulders for zombies. There are also some upgrades that we can make either to weapons or cars. All of them are quite useful. There is a co-op online component of the game. We can get into other people's games and help them. Since this is done by peer-to-peer connection, we are very dependent on the host connection. Sometimes all went well, other times I had some connectivity problems, lag, or both. In addition to the loot that we scavenge in the process of helping others, we have more rewards when we return to our game, and I ended up resorting to this feature to compensate for some flaws in my inventory. Many people have spoken of multiple bugs, but probably because I've played on the PC, or because most of my game time was after a patch that was bigger than the initial game, I did not experience anything special. Zombies clipping through walls or nets, cars crashing into invisible mini rocks or blinking cars were the most common problems I faced in my first playthrough, far from being game-breaking. To be honest, what annoyed me the most were the frame drops that I start to have after the last update. In terms of replay value, it depends a lot from person to person. The game has 3 different maps, but in essence they offer us similar experiences between them. They are like reskins of the same game. There are 4 different types of leader, each one with its own endgame and the respective legacy card that can be used later in a new game. For me, there is a lot here to explore in new games, but I admit that some can say that we are always playing in a similar way. Both perspectives are fair. In a nutshell, I've loved this game. It has many flaws, this is unquestionable, but given the fact that I've entered it more by obligation than by my own curiosity, and now I want to continue playing it, I'm already mentally planning new strategies, bases and traits to look for in new characters. I think that the game deserves to be experienced. The game is terribly fun. Sometimes our eyes get stuck in the tree and end up failing to notice the whole forest behind it. Recommended.